Hey everybody, it's Dr. Quinn here. I thought I would do a separate video on the sample assignment for writing assignment 4 that's embedded in the sample papers in the content. You'll notice that not only is the sample paper embedded, and it's a draft, it's not a final version, and I'll show you why, but a different scenario, this is a much older scenario, that's embedded in here. And so the idea behind this is you can see the layout, the organization is the exact same, it's just a different company with different needs. We want you to create your own report, your own research, but we still wanted to provide you a demo of it. So our sample instructions, I've gone over in a prior video, and you can see them here. I went through this, I believe. You'll notice that there are all these different situations that you can focus on based on your major, whether you want to focus on cybersecurity, media, social media marketing, other business issues like HR related, you can. You don't want to focus on more than 2 of these issues, maybe 3 if you find that they're minor. You'll want to make sure that you have at least 4 references, and some of them are from the library databases doing quality academic research, that it's a 1,400 word document, that you've got at least 2 graphics, and so on and so forth. So all of that's embedded in the assignment overview. And then right toward the end on page 7 of your assignment overview, tips on papers permanent, knowing who your audience is, obviously Maria Carmen, and then secondarily the other workers, right? Here's the section that I'm going to show you. This organization is repeated in the sample instructions, which were, by the way, a little bit longer in the sample that I'm about to show you. But you want to make sure you start with a memo, then you're going to have an executive summary, which is no more than a page. These guys will be on pages by themselves. And then this is the main report, problems, suggested solutions, and conclusion, and then a references section. So let me show you how that looks in the student sample. Okay. Memo comes first. You can see that you'll be writing to Maria Carmen. These students were writing to Richard Smith. Memo usually is like an email with the report attached. You're going to hear me say that a lot. Just imagine it's just brief. It doesn't restate everything else in the paper, but it's like, here's the memo you requested. I look forward to talking to you about this soon. Best, and then your name, right? You may want to do a Dear Maria, and then a closing with your signature. I would also, if I were you, this is the difference between draft and final. A memo should be on a page by itself. So I would enter a page break, and then you have your executive summary on a page by itself, then enter a page break, and then the report actually starts. The executive summary is your report in miniature. You can have a couple of very specific details, but what's really nice about this one is that we see problems and solutions, and we see that bolded. This student did it in like a sentence. You can just have a problems and a solutions header. I think headers are really nice because they project to the reader what's going to come in this section. You're more than welcome to include a little bit of research data. You don't want too much, but to show a bit of research to entice the reader to read the rest of the paper, by all means. I think the formatting, by the way, when we saved this, got a little messed up because look at this bullet. These are sub-bullets, but they're in a line. They should be sequenced like that. So visually, during this draft phase, I can give you feedback on what I see like I would if this was my student, about all your bullets need to be aligned vertically, right? So you kind of get a sense of that. Let's see. Then new page here, and then the problem section starts. So important aspects to this assignment are, I'd put the problem on a new page. You can highlight 2 or 3 of those main issues. Note there's a lot of big chunky bullet items. I think it's okay as long as the entire section isn't in a bullet list. Then it moves into regular prose. We have here, well, let's start here. We have outside research, making it into the problem section, which is great. Using specifics, a quote would be fine here. Then we have a figure call out with the figure coming hereafter. Now, we lose proximity with the sample because figure 1 has the title of the image on one page and then the actual image on the next page. I would either bump this down or I would shrink this a little bit. There's not a lot of text, and I think you could get it. You could also play with your border margins. This is a report, but it's on an APA paper, so it doesn't have to be double spaced. You'll notice it's single spaced, so you can play with your images to get this image on the page up here. You can even play with your spacing just a tiny bit, but this is a nice amount of white space, but this is too much. This figure title and caption needs to be with the corresponding image. But that's a super basic image. Sometimes you can use what's called a pull quote. You could do a 3x3 table. You could do an actual, this is not a flow chart. This is more of a small list, but you could do all sorts of different types of images. But remember, the images need to be data driven. Data driven means I don't want to see an image of two people sitting across a boardroom table shaking hands, or an image of a keyboard with like a cartoon criminal on it, you know, trying to like break in with like a bag of money over his back. Those images are not going to be convincing in the workplace. So no clip art. Everything needs to be data driven. If you create it yourself, I'll be able to tell. No citations needed. But if you borrowed an image, like it's a piece of data that highlights the problem, please cite it as if you would a quote. Note with this quote, Thong Papanal et al., you don't need the ... in the front of it. You can just strip that part out. But I like how sources are being used in both problem and solution section. I see the images. They're not wildly complex. And now that's showing sort of a before and after, these images seem related. And it's nice and it works. In this case, we do have nice proximity. I would add a little bit more white space here between this guy and this, and I'd add a little less. I'd probably pull this up even a little bit more just to sort of bundle it together. Yeah, great use of sources throughout. Conclusions not crazy long. You don't want your conclusion to be more than like 200 words anyways. And then the final thing is the references. And so in these references, our source Forbes, that's just a news organization. The Nimble SBO, I have no idea who that is. This seems to be missing some data. Is this a website? Give me the URL. Is this a book? Give me the publisher. For this source, this is a peer-reviewed academic journal article, and it was published in 2014. I mean, this seems to be the most recent source. I would like to see your peer-reviewed source to be within the last 2 years. And then we've got another peer-reviewed source, and it's a little bit older. It's 6 years old, but we've actually got 2 peer-reviewed sources. So overall quality on the research, pretty good. I just make one of these a little bit newer. And that's how I'm going to give feedback on your own. But I wanted you to see I wanted everybody to see a demo on the sample paper. I look forward to seeing your drafts. I'm in the middle of giving them feedback now. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and to let me know.